Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen wa ala alihi wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. May I request Mufti Ahsan to please join us on the stage. Thank you. And Aisha Munisa, I think she is the only one missing now. Let me start with a light note. After lunch sessions are very difficult for me if I happen to be on the floor. And I can share one very interesting and embarrassing incident that happened recently. So I have this habit of falling asleep if I am on the floor. So in one of the conferences I was on the first row and I fell asleep. And I fell asleep badly with my mouth open. And my head was there, and you can imagine. So normally conference organizers would not wake you up. But on this occasion the conference chair came and he said, I have to wake you up because the conference organizers have asked me to check if you have a heart attack. So if I see some of you falling asleep, I wouldn't say anything because I follow the same tradition as well. Well, let's start this. Jawar Moeen is with us as well, and inshallah in a couple of minutes we will have the other panelists with us. So before the panel completes, let me come up with a few introductory remarks. Islamic banking and finance is now a multi-trillion US dollars industry. Our last estimates of the industry in terms of size was 2.431 trillion US dollars at the end of 2017, which is a very significant figure, and it excites many observers to see that Islamic banking and finance has grown to that level. And there are some estimates that in the next 5 to 7 years, the industry would touch the mark of 5 trillion US dollars. When we look at the decomposition of these assets, we find that banking assets, they dominate. Between 70 to 80% of Islamic financial assets are actually held by Islamic banks or other banks offering Islamic financial services. Islamic capital markets are about 14–15% in terms of sukuk, and Islamic funds, they are about 4% of Islamic financial assets worldwide as well. When it comes to the likes of microfinance, the takaful, etc., their share in Islamic banking and financial assets is very, very small, around 1% each. So I believe this topic, completing the circle, means that how we can diversify Islamic financial assets in such a way that there is not concentration in one sector. So right now, about 3/4 of Islamic financial assets are in the banking sector, and the remaining about 25% they are in other sectors. So the one approach would be to transfer some of the funds from banking sector to other sectors, and additionally having more assets coming into Islamic banking and finance and going into the likes of takaful, microfinance, etc., more than into the mainstream of Islamic banking and finance, which is banking. And I think this will be a challenge, given that Islamic banking and finance industry has predominantly been Islamic banking, although we call it Islamic banking and finance, but as of now, it is primarily Islamic banking. And our experts today will share their views how we can diversify the economy. There are some good examples already where there is an emphasis on non-bank financial institutions, or in terms of sectors, in some countries there is a definite emphasis on agriculture financing. I am very well aware of some of the developments taking place in Malaysia. Agro Bank, for example, which was a conventional bank, a few years back, but in 2014 they decided to fully convert it into an Islamic bank. Now Agro Bank is a fully fledged Sharia compliant bank, offering services to the parties in agriculture sector and related industries. There are some other examples of non-bank financial institutions like Amana Ikhtiar Malaysia, again in Malaysia, which is a body set up by the government to offer microfinance services to the individuals and families, and they have a very aggressive program on financial inclusion, is significantly if and when that happens. Similarly, Pakistan is a very inspiring story when it comes to us to elaborate on a number of issues of importance for Islamic banking and finance in general, and of course, the issues related with Islamic banking in Pakistan. With us, we have Mr. Syed Samar Hassan, who is an Executive Director, Development Finance Group at State Bank of Pakistan, and he is responsible for coming up with a very comprehensive framework for microfinance and financial inclusion in the country. And I'm sure he will share his insight into the possibility of using Sharia compliant financing to improve financial inclusion in the country and developing Islamic microfinance sector in Pakistan. Dr. Salman Syed Ali comes from IRTI, Islamic Research and Training Institute, which is a part of Islamic Development Bank. He is a senior research economist. He's an Islamic economist with varied research interests in different aspects of Islamic economics, banking and finance. He has been involved in quite a number of projects on poverty alleviation and the use of indices to measure Sharia compliant development in a number of countries, especially with reference to the OIC bloc. We have Umar Mustafa Ansari with us, who is now Acting Secretary General of Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institution. He has deep understanding of regulatory and Sharia governance frameworks for Islamic financial institutions. And we work together on at least one project. In that project, there is a focus on ethics and governance, which has relevance to sustainable development goals, which is one of the bullet points of focus in this book. Mr. Farooq Raza, he is a friend for many years. He specializes in Islamic financial advisory. His and other multilateral institutions on matters related with Islamic finance, with a special focus on regulation. Mufti Muhammad Hassan Kaleem, who is a resident Sharia board member of the Dubai Islamic Bank. He is a person every one of you very well know. His Sharia credentials and expertise are impressive, and all of us. Dr. Aisha Muniza, she's not with us as of now, but hopefully she will join us. She comes from Malaysia, India. She belongs to the Maldives. However, she's based in Malaysia as an associate professor at the International Center for Education in Islamic Finance, commonly known as ICIA. In her previous capacity, she has been a deputy minister in her country, and she was very instrumental in coming up with something similar to Tabung Haji in Malaysia. So she created, with the help of a team, something which is similar to Tabung Haji. So all these experts, they have their expertise and skills in a number of sectors. We would benefit from their scholarship. Last but not least, we are privileged to have Mr. Jabir Moini with us. He is a banker and Islamic finance expert of international repute. For quite a few years now, he is based in Pakistan. In his previous role, he was with State Bank of Pakistan. Before that, he worked for a number of international banks and financial institutions, and I believe Jabir is now helping the World Bank in some policy matters related with Islamic banking and finance. So welcome you all. It's a very distinguished panel. May I start with a question for Mr. Sayed Samar Hassan, asking him a kind of starting question. What has been your experience of pushing microfinance in the country and meeting the goals of financial inclusion in general, and of course as part of your job, what has State Bank of Pakistan done to improve financial inclusion and poverty alleviation in a Sharia compliant way? And what are your views on the current state of affairs when it comes to Islamic microfinance, and what would be the future of your?
Thank you, Dr. Let me first of all thank CFID for arranging this conference on a subject which is extremely close to the heart of the central bank. Before responding to your particular questions about microfinance and the promotion of Islamic finance, let me give a preamble as to from the angle of the vision of central bank toward this whole scheme of thought. If you look at the topic of this particular session, in order to have a smooth operation for the economy, and these sectors are actually agriculture, SME, and the one which is missing out of the subject is housing, and especially housing. And basically there are two cross-cutting themes. These cross-cutting themes are Islamic banking and financial inclusion. So out of these five words, four are in this the subject of today's discussion. So it's extremely interesting for me to talk about that. And one more, you see, observation, and then I'll come to your specific question. Let me, you see, and I have the luck that I don't have any bankers and bankers sitting on this panel. Otherwise, even I would have been happier to have a banker in this panel. In terms of the subject of this particular session, completing the cycle for Islamic banking to all the areas. Yes, hypothetically and ideally, and it's a desire of the central bank to complete the cycle by having all the in peace. Because if you ask me upfront, bluntly, that to what extent the Islamic financial institution have been successful in terms of completing the cycle, so let me say that we have not been able to even complete a quarter of the cycle. Forget about the whole cycle, put that aside, you see, even the half of the cycle. And why I'm saying that, that's not just my own thoughts and ideas. If you look at the numbers, and I'm sure that people here would be familiar with those numbers, otherwise you could have access to those numbers from the State Bank of Pakistan website. If you look at the contribution of Islamic banking for the SMEs compared to the conventional and the overall industries, contribution of around 8.5% of the total private sector credit going to the SMEs. What about the Islamic banks? Islamic banking industries providing that only 3.8%. So you can see that clear, you see a certain disparity. But when we come to another subject, which is the agriculture sector, another sector is agriculture. The contribution of the overall industry, which includes conventional bank, is around 8%. And what about Islamic banks? The figure is less than 1%. 0.5% of Islamic banking industry's total assets are going to the agriculture sector. Now, in terms of you see the specific nature of Islamic banking, of asset-based and having all those required ideal financing for an Islamic bank or an Islamic bank institution would be the agriculture and SME. That would have been a natural merit. But if you look at the percentages, you will find a huge disparity. And I'll not talk about contribution of Islamic bank industries in housing finance. Actually, the contribution of the overall industry in Islamic finance again is extremely pathetic. You see, very low. Less than 0.5% of the total GDP in housing sector. So my upfront, you see, take away on that is that even part of the cycle. Coming back to the question of microfinance contributing toward, you see, Sharia compliant instrument. Yes, microfinance has been one of the key instruments when we started a journey way back in 2001 and 2, with almost zero, you see, footprint of the microfinance institution in Pakistan. now huge. And I'm talking about the conventional microfinance banking industry, let's say. Huge. If you look at the numbers, if you look at the number of account holders, primarily which is coming to the microfinance sector in private banking, these are 33 million accounts in Pakistan. 25% of these accounts are being opened and being held by the female, which is a good reason, which is the year. But unfortunately, the role of the microfinance banks, especially, has not been very significant in terms of providing Islamic and Sharia compliant product facilities. And our specific branch we deal with Islamic and Sharia compliant instruments and the progress of marvelous. Look at that number of that one specific branch. So that is a clear evidence that the Islamic that the microfinance banks, in terms of their own structure, they do extremely good in terms of providing Sharia compliance structures and Sharia compliance product. And the State Bank of Pakistan would love to provide any sort of support in order to achieve that particular objective. So that was my first thought, and probably the second order discussion I can contribute more. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think the argument becomes very convincing when you have numbers, and you don't have to explain it further. So 8.5% of SME financing offered by conventional banks and Islamic banks in the country are covering only 3.8%. So it's almost half of what conventional banks are doing. Similarly, agriculture financing, conventional banks share is about 8% and Islamic less than 1%, you said. Home financing, the situation is even bad. We will come back to this question, why is it the case? Is it because of the nature of the products offered by Islamic banks, or this has something to do with their risk aversion or risk appetite? Dr. Salman Sayyid Ali, he has been involved in, or he has been involved in coming up with a new report on Islamic finance which focused on shared responsibility. And this report was published with the help of World Bank. So Dr. Salman Sayyid Ali, did you find any kind of evidence that Islamic financial institutions, both banks and non-bank financial institutions, they were systematically failing to serve the marginal sectors like agriculture, SME, microfinance, etc., in the countries which were covered in your report?
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before coming to that question, let me thank everybody and the organizers and SEEF and everyone who participated over here. As mentioned earlier, that the session's topic is completing the circle. So far we have discussed the banking, we have discussed capital markets, we have discussed other things. But there are other products which are needed for diversification that will require in the areas where the banks and other financial institutions cannot successfully come into picture. And there are certain areas which are listed which come to our mind, like microfinance and certain other areas, but there are certain areas which normally are not discussed in Islamic finance conferences. So I would like to take your mind and focus on certain new areas, focus on some new areas in completing the financial sector. Then
the contribution towards the GDP is 22.5%, Afghanistan 6.3%, and then in Turkey is 7.4% as of today.